Hi, I'm Carlene, and this is Nutmeg Nation. I have with me on the show Maria Myers, and I'm so excited. Maria is our first guest this fall. We've been off the air for a little bit, but I'm really excited because I met you in September, right?
Yeah,
At the Oil Down Festival. And you were like, everyone wants to talk to you. So I was lucky I got like a little bit of time. And here we are. And we're going to talk about like who you are, basically what you've done for the Grenada Day Cultural Committee. And for those who don't know who you are, just give us a little synopsis, like what do you do and who is Maria?
Okay, so I am the president of two Grenadian-based organizations right here in Toronto, Spice Isle Association and the Grenada Day Culture Association. Now, the first one that I was involved with was Spice Isle Association, in which the members of that organization started the Grenada Day Festival with presidents of the various organizations. So the presidents were Kenroy Gordon of the GBSS, Kay Baptiste of the CHRY Association, Laura Henry of the Grenada Association, and myself, the Spice Isle Association. And together we thought of to do a day, which we now call the Grenada Day Festival.
Yeah. So Grenada Day Festival, I've been once before years ago. It's been a long time coming that you've been doing this event. And for those that have not been to Grenada Day, how has it changed over the years? I mean, 14 years. Wow.
Yeah, it's 17 years minus the 2 years of COVID.
Right.
So yeah, it's amazing, Carlene. It's something that grew from 500 people to 5,000 people and over 5,000 people, actually. What am I saying? And it's a festival that, as the police have described, it's one of the best Caribbean festivals that's gearing towards the culture and heritage of Grenada, but brings so many different islands together, so many different cultures together to learn about our Petite Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique Islands.
Right. So speaking of Grenada Day, because you are the president and you've obviously earned your stripes, where are you from in Grenada? I think I did a little digging. Is it St. David's? That's the parish you're from, or?
No, St. George's. Our family's from Bolio Boca. But I'll tell you a little secret. I was actually born in Venezuela.
Oh, wow.
My mother left Grenada to go and work. And then from Venezuela, I came to Trinidad and then Grenada. I went to school in Grenada. And then from Grenada, came to Canada, where I learned English here in Canada because, of course, Spanish was my first language.
Wow. So how long did you live in Grenada for? Like you lived in, obviously, Venezuela is where your roots tie. So you're a bit of both, but...
Like Venezuela, Trinidadian, and Grenadian. So I came here when I was about 10 years old. And my mother, from the old school, grilled English in me. And she herself knew Spanish, but she grilled the English in me. So she was scared, like, I'm in a new country now. You got to learn English. And, she was scared that I wasn't going to pick up the language. But, back then, they don't realize the importance of having multiple languages to socialize.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. I stopped taking French in grade 10. And I think if I wasn't such a kid that was like, I don't like my French teacher because I had the same French teacher, I would have probably stayed on because you're right. Like knowing another language is so important. But from one Grenadian to another, we all speak English and then, broken English is obviously the dialect or whatever you want to call it. But since you left Grenada when you were young, what made you decide to become a part of this association? How did you get to where you are now?
I worked in the community, not as a Grenadian, just as community worker. Besides my job, my full-time job had nothing to do with the community. The two titles are vastly different. So my field, my career was electronics engineer technician at Bell Canada. And I loved also working with youth, children, and our community to build a better community. So everywhere I was, whether it's my children's school, I was part of the PTA. So it's a community. I see kids that are on, less fortunate, and not that I was rich at all, because I wasn't. I was just wanted to always help. So I have 4 biological kids, 7 adopted kids, and they call me mom to this day, and their children call me grandma. So from there, I worked with the Toronto Police, and I didn't like the police at first, because coming from an area of Jane and Finch I seen a lot of things that the police shouldn't have done, and I had no trust in the police. But it has since then been reformed. So I had a fabulous mentor. It was at that time he went up to Deputy Chief of Police Michael Federico, and he actually changed my hand on how I look at police. And he worked with us 200%. So while in the community working with the police and doing a lot of things, and it was my cousin that said, you know what, you're doing like such a great job in the community. You need to go to your roots. Go back to your roots and upbuild them, because I don't see that community being uplifted or upbuilt. So I said, okay. That time I was going to Trinidad every year for Carnival. And I said, I don't know. So he brought me to one meeting, and he says, this is the girl that we can get a group going and build up Grenada. And that's Spice Isle Association. We started with having a representation in Caravana, where we can have a Grenadian section. So we started working with Grenadian families, to be able to put their kids and themselves into a section where we work with Arnold Hughes. Worked with a couple of bands, but mainly it was Arnold Hughes. And then we branched off to doing community events, Family Day, Sports Day, Children's Christmas Party, which we still do up to this day. And we work with Chum and the firefighters and make sure to have a party for these kids. And when we saw that the company parties was phasing out, we said, nah, these kids have to have a Christmas party to go to. And that's when we implemented that Christmas party. And to this day, we do that. And that's how I got involved in the Grenadian community. And at first it was a challenge, because I didn't know how to, I knew how to upbuild because I was working in the community. So it just came natural. But there was the feedback that was coming back and stuff. I had to stand back and say, what? Like every culture, I think, has a different mentality. And when I stood back, I kind of realized and learned my own people over again, my culture, the heritage of what was liked, what was disliked, how they are, how to work with them. So, and now it's yeah.
Yeah. So you said a lot of great things, in terms of our culture, I gotta say that, you know what? It's true. You're not always going to get positive reinforcements. Even when I started this podcast, I started it in 2020, and I had a few people say some stuff to me too. Grenada has no podcast. Why are you even going to bother? When you're always going to get people that are going to be difficult in everything that you do that's outside of the norm, or you're trying to make a difference. But the one thing you said, going back to your mentor, Michael Federico, what did he do that made you change your mind on working with the Toronto Police? That's a very good question, Carly. Nobody has ever asked that. I've always told them who's the one that turned me around, but nobody asked, what did he do? What did he say? What made a difference that you, from hating police to working with them? I was on the radio that time, myself and DJ Shears, and I was his co-host. Yes, DJ Shears is a well-known DJ from the past, very good guy. And he asked me to come on board as his co-host. And so it was another plan to put Grenada, on the map and be recognized. And I was all in for it. I was like, okay, no problem. And that's when I was coming into the Grenadian community. And I came in with such a force that everybody's heads turned who's this girl? Where does she come from? And so people were questioning, some wanted me because I was very boisterous and out there and put Grenada out there. And he was one of them. And we had a radio show, and Michael Federico, I worked with 12 Division at that time. And we said,
There was another girl named Jennifer Huntley. She was on another radio station, same station, but different program. And we wanted to do a police, black people don't trust police. They don't like police. And yes, get the police on. Get the police on. And he was the superintendent of 12 Division. So I try to set him up. I must say, I try to set him up in different ways in terms of he's going to fail. He's going to collapse. He's not going to want to work with us. We're black people who all of them, they start off saying, yeah. But then they end up, they don't want to work with us and stuff. So we set him up. And we brought him to a radio station. He came in, CHRY. He came in.
Oh my gosh, I was just about to ask you about CHRY.
Yes, it was CHRY.
Oh my gosh.
It was, God, what was our show called? Spice something in the morning, right? Wow. And he came on, and me and Jennifer was just waiting for him. We said all the things that, you're going to ask him this, we're going to ask him that. He's going to get burnt. And we told him, I warned him before. I said, so I put him up to that test, and I assumed he was going to fail the test. Honestly, I assume that he's going to fail the test because we're going to put him on. So many people say, hey, look out for, just say the show is on Thursday. Look out for Thursday. We're going to have Superintendent Mike Federico from 12 Division, which is a division that's very on a hot seat because it's on the Black Creek and Thuthui. Guys, get your questions ready. Get anything you want ready. Anything you want to ask this man, ask him, okay? We want answers. You guys want answers, And everybody was calling in and saying, yeah, we're going to call in. We can't wait for that show to come on. We're going to ask him this, ask him that. So, and then they were asking us, and we're like, no, don't ask us. Wait until he comes on the show, And then the day when he came on the show, Carlene, I left a changed person. Yeah, I came on the show and I was ready because I was like, yeah, we're setting this guy up, right? He didn't know. Yeah. He had no clue that we're setting him. I just said, you got to be strong. You have to have a strong back because these people are going to come after you forcefully and they're going to ask you all these questions. And then when Jennifer met him, Jennifer said, hi, nice to meet you. Listen, I got to tell you, you got to have a strong. And she said the same thing I said to him. He's like, no problem. Ladies, no problem. I'm ready. Because if they tell you that they hate the police and their guys are pigs and all that kind of stuff, just be prepared for all that. And everything that they were calling us and telling us what they're going to tell him. So we had some questions prepared for him. So we said, are you ready? And he goes, yeah. So we said, hi, guys. The time is here. Superintendent Michael Federico is here from 12 Division. And we started off, introducing him. He introduced himself. And then we started off with asking him the questions. So he said, okay. And then he answered it. He answered it dead on. And then we asked him, between Jennifer and myself, we both asked him questions. And then after I said to him, okay, it's time to open up the lines, right?
Yeah.
Let's open up the lines and let's have anybody else. And then we said to him, are you ready? And he's like, yes. And he's like, yes, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You guys are, worried. So anyway, we were worried because we knew what they said to us, that they're going to ask him this, when I like police, and, all kind of stuff. We opened the lines and we look at the lines went dead. Nobody called in. So we're like, hey guys, the lines is open now. You guys can call in. Carlene, nobody called in. So I said, okay.
Wow.
Our audience seemed to be a little shy out there. So we're going to just kind of, Jennifer, what should we do? He goes, well, let's ask some of the questions that they call us to ask. Let's ask him so that maybe they would unwind and not be so shy. I mean, they were calling in that week leading up to it. It was like every second they were calling and asking this. I said, well, don't ask us. Don't worry. Wait to the show. There was so many people calling in. And then we asked him the questions. He answered it dead on. And then I turned around and I started to be harsh and Jennifer started to be harsh. I said, okay, you know what? Really? I've seen things in 31 Division that was not supposed to be. And that's why I myself did not like the police, because they did things and put things on people just to charge them, but nothing like that went. We were taken into paddy wagons for no reason. Why? Just to be in a basement party. Why you guys act like that? Why is it? And he was very apologetic to the police and said, I'm very sorry if you had to encounter something like that. That's not acceptable. I mean, you know what? I know that there's officers out there that's not good. I know that. And I wish you guys would tell me which one, pinpoint which one. if you're in 12th Division, you let me know. But I also know there's officers out there that's extremely good. And I don't want to have these bad officers ruining for the good officers. Like, he was just dead on. And I'm looking at him like...
So, like, what kind of stuff, like police always get like a bad rap, and like you see it in the news. They're like, we could go from back in the day, but like 12th Division, like when you say that, is it known for like so-called history with this? Like, what is what's one thing that you guys didn't like, or like the community? Because, Jane and Finch, like we all know Jane and Finch gets a bad rap. Like whenever I'm in that area back and like I'd be there, I'd be worried that something might happen because you keep hearing stories
Yeah, 12th Division is similar to Jane and Finch. It was a lot of racism at that point on 31 Division, a lot of harassment, a lot of carding, a lot of like, hey, you, where are you from? What's your name? Like, are you Sandra? Are you so-and-so? There was a lot of things. Like, I remember I was in a Sheridan Mall when it was first built, and they were calling out a name, and I didn't know it was me. But when I saw everybody looking at me, I'm like, what's everybody looking at me for? And then when I realized, I turned around, as these officers was asking, hey, and I turn around, I go, yes, is your name Sandra? Get over here. And I go, my name is not Sandra. Don't tell me to get over here. And I just scooted out of the mall because fear. And they said, yo, get over here. And I go, I'm not getting over here. My name's not Sandra. Don't you dare embarrass me like that again. And I just ran out of the mall because I was figured that they're going to grab me for something, because that's how they were back then. If they didn't like you or you didn't adhere to them, it wasn't about protecting or serving the community at all. It wasn't like that, So it was things like that they could have done, but they don't do now. They probably, I say probably, there is still racism and discrimination on the force, like in any workplace, but it's handled a little differently because they cannot be upfront like how they used to be.
Oh yeah. So, like I think the one thing that we can say here is that they say in the U.S. it's in your face. You see it, whereas here it's more underneath the surface. Like they're not blatantly going to be racist to your face. They'll do it discreetly or in a way where you don't see it like face value, right? Is that what you're trying to say? Like, I forgot the term they use for that, but you said so many things all at once that were just like, oh my gosh, CHRY. Maria, I interned there back then, and I used to work with Millie Gordon.
Oh, Millie Gordon,
yes. And then I actually, when I volunteered at CHRY, that's how I knew I wanted to get into radio, because of the community and everything. And like, it's like, if you ever get a chance, like go on YouTube and watch some of the old footage of, I swear, I think there was a day they closed down the radio station, and that was like the end. Like it was crazy. But yeah, I used to co-host with this guy, Fred Tay. He had the show called African Sunsplash. And that was like my time at
yes, I remember Fred, sorry. And there was Experience Creole with Levi and thing. There was
small world.
All of us was we had it together. Sir B is still there, Sir B, and we have so many. Like it was all of us together as a team, and so everybody knew where to go, where not to go.
What a history, right? Oh my goodness, from like where you're going. So like growing up in that area. So you grew up in Jane and Finch. Like what school did you go to? Like, and how do you feel that impacted where you are now?
Right. So I lived from Falstaff to Chalk Farm and went up to where I was always there with my best friends in Shoreham and Driftwood.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
I went to Northview Secondary School, graduated, then I got pregnant, and then I took my grade 13, at that time it was grade 13, at C.W. Jeffries.
Yeah. And so how old is your little one now?
The firstborn?
Yeah.
She's 40.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Your firstborn is the same age as me. That's crazy. So I'm like, is she part, did she grad, was she like part of the last grade 13? Cause you say grade 13 and I was the last class. So I graduated double cohort and it was like, that was the end of OAC. You call it grade 13. Yeah.
That was, yeah, she
Yeah.
was the last.
Oh my goodness.
84, I
Wow.
think.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, yeah. Wow. That's so crazy. Now, now that I'm 40, it's like, wow, I can't believe it. Like when you look at the time and everything that's happened, it's like my baby sister is 25 and, I'm the oldest there's 5 girls. And so listening to you talk about like your whole history is like kind of like in a way for me too. Cause I grew up in like bad areas too, like Lansdowne and Bloor and like DuPont and Osler. Like that's where my parents' house is. And like when you're a kid, you don't really understand why it's considered a bad area until like you're older and you're like, wow, this area is rough. Like I walk through these areas, like, like even you on Shoreham there, like people are like, Shoreham, that's a bad area late at night. Don't walk through there. Like, so.
That was like our best years. That was our best years,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. But getting back to what was the name of the radio show that you were co-hosting on? And like, what radio station was that?
CHRY.
Yeah.
And it was called, I can't remember. It was Spice.
Okay. So that was that show. And that wasn't with DJ Shores?
DJ Shears.
DJ Shears. I did write it.
Yeah, he was the host of the show and I was the co-host.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, he's the one that approached you. And like, so how long were you involved with CHRY? Was that part of like the community for you too? Or,
No, that was just helping out DJ Shears do the co-hosting.
Yeah.
And he wanted someone to uplift the show as he was the one playing the music and, getting some interviews going and stuff and just letting people know about Grenada.
Right.
So it was called, I think it was called Spice in the Morning or something like that. But my co-host name was Spicy.
Okay. So after the Spice Island. Yes. Spice girl, Spice. We're from the island of Spice and everything. That's nice,
That's right.
That's right. So do you know when you decided like, I want to help like Grenadians in the community? Like when did that transpire? Like, I mean, obviously you said it was Michael Federico and like working with the Toronto police, but something must have inspired you to get to where you are now. Like when did that happen? Like, cause you told me like the building blocks. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When I went to Grenada on vacay and I realized there's so many things that you can take from Grenada and bring it here. I realized there was a lot of undocumented people from Grenada here and they couldn't kind of really come out, but they would like to get together with their people and feel good. So my friends that did Jamaica Day, I said, well, I want to do Grenada Day. And I asked them a couple of pointers on what to do. And I saw the need by talking to a lot of Grenadians, the need to have Grenadians be brought together. As a matter of fact, we had a community meeting and in our Spice Isle called the Grenadians and said, hey, we just want to know, what could we do further for you? How could we make you feel good here? Like, or what impact would you want? What activity would you want? What anything? And one guy, his name is Kyron Lewis, he said, well, go back to the other Grenadian organizations because he does not feel well represented. He said, go back to the other organizations, the active ones, and see what you guys can come up with to make us, the Grenadians, feel well represented. So when I went to the other groups, they really didn't know. They just said, sure, they're all in to do something, but they didn't know what it was. And at that time, my friends was doing Jamaica Day. And I said, well, what about Grenada Day? And they said, sure. And I said, well, go back to your members, the presidents, go back to your members and bring it to your membership body and let's do it. And I didn't hear from them. So what I did, I just took an active role and called them and then called a public meeting. And that time it was at Spice House Sports Bar on Eglinton and Dufferin. And the leaders, the president had no clue what I was doing. And I just called them together, called Grenadians, put the word out there, here, come to Spice House Sports Bar, let's have a big meeting, a community meeting. A lot of people came and I I just announced we're going to have Grenada Day. And all the presidents was looking at me like, what? I mean, we talked about it, but we didn't plan it. And I just put it out there and it's like, yeah, when? And then they looked at me, yeah, Maria, when? So I said July. And one of the
What happened?
6 months to put this thing together. You think it's going to be put together in 6 months? I said, we can do it. But that time I already had the experience of working in the community. So I was going to bring all my sources, the Toronto Police, the Frank from JJP Community Center. I was bringing all my leaders that I was already working with to come and put it together. And I knew I could do it. And when I saw like the 500 people, I thought that was a lot. My God, there's so much Grenadians here. And I basically almost cried on the stage saying, oh my God, look what we've done for them. They came together. A lot of them I know was not documented and was experiencing a lot of different things in a different workplace at that time, different agencies that they were working with that sent them to different jobs, non-payments of things, and they couldn't report it because they're not documented. Like I said, like, what do you mean you don't have your papers? Like I learned what it is because of course, when I'm coming here at 10 years old, I don't know nothing about my papers. I know my mother sponsored me, but I don't know anything about papers. But I learned in the community what it was to be here without papers, what they were going through. So I said, wow, they all came together. So every year I just continued doing it and it just got bigger and bigger each year.
You're listening to Nutmeg Nation. Listen, learn, and be a part of Grenada.
Hi, I'm Carlene, and this is Nutmeg Nation. I have with me on Zoom the wonderful and talented Maria Myers. She is, I didn't even know this. We were talking about you and your, like where you are now in life, and you don't even have to work anymore, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And
I would encourage everybody out there when you're working, especially when you're working with a large company and stuff, be prepared. Be prepared for retirement. Get prepared, because that's what I did. I got prepared, and I was one of the lucky ones. Retired early, and
you did? Oh, wow.
Freedom 55.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
Freedom 55. I mean, that is planning ahead.
Yeah.
And that's something that we all have to work on. I think us as a race, like we're not taught financial, like just planning, putting money aside for retirement. That's one thing that I think financial literacy, like learning those things. I think like we all have to, a lot of us have to teach ourselves, because I don't remember my mom being like, oh, you should save money for like retirement and all these things. But
yeah, they don't know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's amazing. So before we stopped, you were talking about just, the beginning of Grenada Day and how it started with 500 people and how it brought you, to tears to see that, this many people came to the event. And, even before you talk about that, I remember, like, this is crazy. My sister and I, we used to go to Carabana all the time. And I remember that year we were so excited because Grenada had a section, and you're talking about that section. And
yeah,
it wasn't a good ending to that story. Cause I mean, we were like, so, lively and like Grenada's performing. And then all of a sudden you hear
shooting,
the gunshots.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and my sister, we like ran. I think we were with a family friend running because everyone was running all over. And that's the thing that ruins it for Carabana, like it was years ago. Like, and my mom was like, you guys aren't going to Carabana anymore. Like, she was just worried or paranoid, but it was one of those events that was like a happy time, but also a scary time when you're in the midst of all that. Right. So, yeah, but on a happier note, Grenada Day is your baby, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
it is. And you know what? I'll give you the same advice as I took myself, and I had to step back myself. And there's a little group. I call it small group, but they're cute. They have big mouths. And those are the ones that would discourage you from doing whatever you're doing. Don't let the big mouths discourage you, because they're a small group. The larger group appreciates what you're doing, and they love it, and they spread the word on what you're doing. So where I was discouraged from doing Grenada Day, oh, somebody tried and it's not going to work. It's, who are you to do it? It's not going to work. And when I listened to that, I said, what? Well, no, I'm not them. I didn't even know what they did. I don't even know how they did it, but I'm going to do me. I'm going to do it my way. And here we are 17 years later, because I have to say 17 years, because even during COVID, I used my house to do drop-by brunch. Like we had brunch and we had the vendors set up the tents in my yard. People just come pick up their food and go. And people appreciated that because COVID just locked everything down and nothing was available. And we still made things available for our people.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. You know what? I wish I had come to, the event. It sounded like there was a lot of people there and I'm like, oh, I missed it. I wasn't following too much social media. I tried to take a break and it seemed like this year was probably maybe your biggest Grenada
It was one
Day
of the best years. Yes.
Yeah.
It was one of the best years ever.
Yes. And
the prime minister was supposed to come, but due to Hurricane Beryl, he had like commitments, he had cancellations, and his whole schedule got berserk. So we totally understood why he couldn't come and break his commitment to come because he had to look after, our sister island, CHRY, was basically destroyed. Destruction hit it. So he had to make sure that, everything was good and get on board to start rebuilding our sister island, CHRY. So we totally understood. The minister came down. I'm from Sports and Culture Minister Adrian Thomas. He was excited. He loved what he saw. It was a good look. So he can go back and make his reports. And when I'm in Grenada, I have my meetings. I seek sponsors from Grenada to our festival, and everything is good.
Yeah. Everything is good. Everything is crisp, In terms of like how things have transpired, you were talking about, not letting anybody discourage you or stop you from what you've decided to do. I mean, the fact that you had events during COVID in your home, that goes to show like how much of a community base you have now. What is the message you would like to share with Grenadians about, and listeners, whoever's listening right now, what would you like to share about Grenada and Grenada Day and like what your impact is pretty much, what's your message?
The message I would like to share with everybody, Grenadians, which is the converted, and non-Grenadians, friends of, family of, which is a non-converted, is that Grenada is a beautiful island. The people are very resilient. We've gone through things of invasion with Morris Bishop to major hurricanes, Hurricane Janet, Hurricane Ivan, and now recently Hurricane Beryl. We're resilient. We have strong sense of spirituality and togetherness. In every island and every set of people, there's always the bad apples, you can say. But overall, Grenada, and Grenada is no exception, but the island of Grenada, it's one of the most expensive islands to go to, but the crime rate is very, very low. And they have under a new leadership right now, which is doing fabulous job to uplift and to get the emphasis of education further in our people so they can further advance themselves, and which is a very good, not keeping them in a rut, and advancing themselves and sending that message to them to work to get what they want. And going back to Morris Bishop, where grow what you eat what you grow. And so I would say that Grenada Day offers a time for everybody to get together, at least if you don't go out throughout the year, you go out on Grenada Day and the Oil Down Fest and see the various people and connect once again. And that connection is so important, especially it just seems like so many people these days are getting sick or are passing, or, it becomes more of a mental health or mental letdown, and the uncertainty of people's lives all around us. And what do we hold on to? So I would say, let's hold on to each other and let's keep building up each other and showing our children the future of togetherness and strength in which we have inside of us.
Wow. That was beautiful. Yeah, that's amazing. It's so true in so many ways. They always emphasize, a lot of people always say, oh, Grenada is a small island, but it's a community. Like, I haven't been back in a long time, but I have to say every time I go back, it's the friendliness of the people, and they're so humble. I think even people who have done so much or they've become celebrity, like, I have to say, like, one of the most amazing moments I've had with this show is when I finally got a hold of Karani James and he was on the show. And for me, that was like a pivotal moment, but he's so humble. Like you would never think, but like, even though he's gotten to that place where he wanted to be, like, you know, and made history or made that impact, it didn't get to his head. And I think the same thing goes for you. I don't know how many people you know now. You obviously know a lot of Grenadians, right? Do you feel like you've left your mark, like in the community with the association and?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely. I've left. I leave. I continue to leave my mark in the community. People, know that I'm retired, but I'm still doing what I'm doing. And I try to even step aside to say, okay, I'll train somebody else, but nobody says, they say they don't want my work.
Right. It's a lot of work. Like to plan Grenada Day. Like you said, you have a team. Like I remember you saying that in your interview. It takes a team. Like it's not just you. You have a team of people who help make this event happen. And there's so many moving parts, right?
Yes.
And so that's the glorious thing about it. And, I want to say, as someone, I haven't been going to Grenada Day every year, but thank you for doing that. And I'm glad I came to Oil Down Festival. Otherwise, I wouldn't have met you. And it's a highlight. Like, I think people are running on island time for sure with Oil Down Festival, because I was like, where's everybody? You know what I mean? Right. But there's one thing I want to ask. How can people help with the Grenada Day Cultural Association? How can they help you?
There's a very important meeting, and we're the only national that has, after our annual event, we do have this. No other national has that, not the Jamaicans, not the St. Vincent's, not the St. Lucians, even though they have their day. We have on November the 9th, a feedback. This year, we also incorporated our voting, because all of our team, we serve for 2 years and then we just get re-voted back in. Or I've seen it in the past where the votes counts, where people would vote others who stand up and say, no, I'd like to be in this position. So November the 9th at Pethui and Brookhaven, it's in a Orthodox church. We provide free food, refreshments, and we give you the allowance to let us know your feedback, bad or good. We're here. We're here to listen to it. I get a lot of ideas from these meetings, because if they're going to come and they're going to come at us strong, we're here to listen. I always tell my team, don't take anything offensive. Listen to them, because they're passionate of what they want implemented. Sometimes they may not say it the right way, but if you read between the lines, it's something that maybe we need to do. So that's what I tell my team. And on November the 9th, anybody want to get involved. And I encourage you, Carlene, to come. And if you want, come and see what it is. The thing is that our Grenadian community don't come.
Yeah.
They don't come.
It,
And they'll talk to you on the street, Maria, you should do this. Maria, you should do that. But those that do come and are very boisterous on giving us suggestions of what to do and stuff like that, they do come. We appreciate it. But we still, at the same time, we provide food. I'll send you that flyer so you can send it around.
Okay, yeah, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, and it's something that's very important. And I keep saying it every year for the last how many years. We're the only ones that reaches out to our people. And it doesn't matter if 10 people come, 15 people come, we still have it every year. And I remember one of my members saying, why do we have this? Nobody comes. It doesn't make no sense. No, but you know what? Those that do come, it's appreciated.
Thank you for listening to Nutmeg Nation with Carlene Humphrey. Welcome to Nutmeg Nation.
Facebook was just becoming a thing, and I had signed up the magazine Facebook. Didn't even really know what I was doing. And what that did in 2012 onward, readers who had joined and who kept joining the Facebook group or page, whichever it was, would not go away, and they wouldn't leave me alone. I would get messages like, Miss Grace or Grace, we'll wait for you. We're still waiting for you.
Social media, in a way, brought the community together to get you back to,
It did
Jamaican.
get people to harass me.
Listen, learn, and be a part of Grenada.